At the beginning of the program, we mentioned the importance of technique when fighting a fire with a portable extinguisher. Since Class B fires present the greatest danger to persons in the maritime industries, we will concentrate our attention on Class B extinguishers in our discussion on technique. Basically, there are two types of Class B dry chemical extinguishers: the stored pressure extinguisher and the cartridge type extinguisher. Each has special characteristics. With stored pressure extinguishers, the expellant gas and extinguishing agent are stored in a single chamber. The extinguisher is activated by removing the pin and operating the hand lever. Stored pressure extinguishers are available in sizes ranging from 1 to 30 pounds. The advantage of stored pressure units is that they are stored ready to use and are equipped with a pressure gauge that indicates the pressure inside the storage chamber. Once a stored pressure extinguisher is used, it requires special recharging equipment normally not found aboard ship. The other type of Class B dry chemical extinguisher is the cartridge-operated extinguisher. With this type of extinguisher, the dry chemical agent is stored inside the extinguisher at atmospheric pressure. The expellant gas, on the other hand, is located under pressure in a separate cartridge, located either on the inside or on the outside of the extinguisher. To activate this type of unit, remove the ring pin from the propellant cartridge guard and remove the hose from between the puncture lever and the extinguisher shell. Firmly grasp the nozzle to secure it during pressurization, but do not depress the lever. Don't lean over the unit when charging it. Although rare, the cap or container, if improperly maintained, could fail and cause injury. The extinguisher is activated by releasing the expellant gas into the extinguisher with a quick hard rap to the propellant puncture lever. Finally, test the unit. The discharge is controlled by a valve located at the end of the discharge hose. Regardless of the charging requirement, an extinguisher should never be activated unless you are going to fight a fire. Once the seal is broken, the propellant or agent inside will leak out. To fight fires using a dry chemical extinguisher, approach the fire from the upwind side of the fire if at all possible. Proceed to within 10 to 12 feet of the near edge of the fire. Aim the dry chemical stream slightly ahead of the near edge of the fire using a rapid side-to-side sweeping motion. Each sweep of the chemical stream must be slightly wider than the spill. Advance slowly, working the fire to the back edge of the spill, being careful not to overrun the effective range of your extinguisher. Extinguish any remaining fire at the back edge of the spill by aiming directly at the base of the flame. Apply a constant flow of dry chemical until the fire is completely extinguished. Once the fire is out, back away from the spill area and remain alert for a possible reflash. When a fire involves an obstacle surrounded by flame, the best tactic is to use two extinguishers. Approach the fire from the upwind direction. Move to within approximately 10 to 12 feet of the near edge of the fire. Direct both dry chemical agent streams slightly ahead of the near edge of the fire. Use a side-to-side sweeping motion. Each firefighter should cover 2/3 of the leading edge of the fire, with the dry chemical agent streams overlapping at the center. Advance slowly around each side of the obstacle while continuing to sweep the dry chemical streams from side to side. Move far enough around the obstacle to apply dry chemical agent on the far side, being careful not to position yourself directly across from the other firefighter. Extinguish the remaining fire behind the obstacle by aiming both dry chemical streams at the base of the fire while maintaining a safe distance from the fire. A flammable liquid fire in depth requires a different technique. First, approach the fire from upwind until you are approximately 10 to 12 feet from the front edge of the fire. Aim the dry chemical at the top edge of the front wall of the pan. Discharge the dry chemical towards the upwind corner of the fire. Water is the most commonly used firefighting agent. Water cools the fire and provides a means of control. Let's look at a situation where water is used only as a means of control. Here, no agent is used to put out the fire. Instead, water is used to push the fire away from an open valve feeding fuel to the fire. Once the fire is away from the valve, firefighters are able to close the valve and cut off the source of fuel feeding the fire. Control is the common use of water in this example. Of course, water does have its negative properties. Water conducts electricity, so it should be used with extreme caution when fighting electrical fires, and only as a last resort, and only after all electrical power has been turned off. Water reacts violently with certain chemicals such as carbides, peroxides, metallic sodium, and magnesium. Water is heavy, about 8 pounds per gallon, and could create a stability problem if large quantities are used on board. In freezing weather, water may not be available and will freeze, and ice will form, causing slick surfaces and added weight when used on weather decks. And if not used properly, it could serve to spread the fire if improperly sprayed directly into the fuel that's burning. However, it can be effectively used against fires. As with extinguishers, technique is critical to effective hose line use. However, on hose lines, a team of 2 or more people is called for. And as with anything else, they must work as a team. That means preparation, cooperation, and communication. It also means having one person who serves as a leader to direct the hose line team. When using a 1.5-inch hose line, team members stand on the same side of the hose. Each person is 1 arm's length from the other. When picking up the hose, put one hand on the shoulder of the person in front of you to achieve this distance. A step at a time in unison. One person, usually the person on the nozzle, shouts out the commands to move the team. Advance. The team advances in the direction that the nozzle is pointed, usually toward the fire. Sidestep left. The hose and the hose team move left. The nozzle direction does not change. Sidestep right. The hose and hose team move right. The nozzle direction does not change. Down on one knee. The hose team goes down on one knee, the knee closest to the hose. Stand up. The hose team stands up. Gooseneck. The hose team gives the nozzle person approximately 2 feet of hose, and the team raises the hose to the nozzle person's shoulder level. The nozzle person then bends the hose, pointing the nozzle towards the deck, and begins a sweeping motion in full fog pattern in front of the hose team.
Level off.
Level off. The hose team brings the hose back to normal use.
Prepare to back out.
Prepare to back out. The last person on the hose notifies the person in front of them that they are dropping back. They then drop back about 1 hose length and pick up the hose.
Back out.
Back out. The hose team backs out together. Foam is a very effective firefighting agent. Foam is designed to be used primarily on Class B fires, those involving flammable and combustible liquids. As previously mentioned, when these types of fires occur, it's actually the vapors above the fuel that are burning. Foam forms a barrier between the fuel and the air and suppresses vapor production. It also separates the flame from the fuel and cools the fuel's surface and surrounding hot metal.